Hey everyone, my name is Nate and you're watching WASD 20. Welcome to D&D FAQ, the series where I take your frequently asked questions and answer them. Today, the very first question is, how do I know how high the players need to roll? Or if we're going to put it in D&Dnese, we might say, how do I set a DC, or a difficulty class? So, in the game, we know that the players are often rolling d20s to determine if they are able to do certain things. And the DM is doing that too. If they're able to hit on the attack, if they're able to jump across the river, if they're able to sneak, if they're able to pick the lock, whatever it might be, if they're able to convince someone of something. There are all these ways in which the players are rolling dice to determine the results and the outcomes of situations like that. Are the players able to overcome the challenges that the DM puts before them? So first off, I want to say Player's Handbook, page 174, has a great guide for how to set a DC, and it's got a lot of detail there in about a page or page and a half. So I'm going to be getting most of my information from that. That's page 174 in the Player's Handbook. But there is also a guide which is on the DM screen. You can find it elsewhere, and I'll put it down in the description below, and I'll also just put it right across my face right now. That will help you determine how to set a difficulty class for your players to see what they have to roll to accomplish certain things. So you have to decide, how difficult is it? And that, there's some subjectivity there, and I'm going to address that actually in the second video. The second frequently asked question is going to be, what keeps the game fair? So this guide can really help you out in determining what the players have to roll to accomplish certain things. You have to think about, how difficult is this? Now, some of that's going to depend on the flavor of your game. Is this a game of epic proportions where you really want the player characters to be heroic and do amazing things, superhero level stuff, or even god level stuff? Well, then you're going to want to make things probably a little bit easier. You're going to want to make it easier for your players to do amazing things. On the other hand, are you going for a flavor of realism? That's going to make it, things reasonable, so that the average person is not going to be able to do these amazing things unless they really, really roll high. So a lot of that is up to the flavor of your game, and that's for you to decide as a DM, and involve your players in that process too. So that's the first thing. You have to decide, what is the flavor of your game, what kind of style and feel are you going for, and then use that guide. And honestly, I don't have that guide in front of me. Once you get used to it, it's really easy to keep it straight, and you just kind of wing it, and you really don't need to have a DC pre-written for every little thing the player characters want to do. You can just make it up on the spot based on, how difficult is this? Use that guide, and eventually you won't even need the guide anymore. You'll just be able to say, okay, you want to do this thing, you have in your head that the players would have to roll a 17 to do that. You don't have to tell them that, you can if you want to, but that's the way it generally works for most DMs. Now, there are certain cases where you're not just going to be using that scale. For example, I messed this up on how to play D&D part 3 or 4, I can't remember which one it was, where I made a stealth check. When you roll a stealth check to see if you are going to be able to effectively sneak past someone or remain silent or whatever, then in general the DC is going to be the passive perception or passive wisdom of the creature that could possibly notice you. So that's a case where you do have a bit of a guide already. The passive perception is the ability of someone to notice something, and your roll should beat their passive wisdom. Now, if they're looking for you, and this is true in many cases, you might have some opposed checks. Opposed checks come into play when you're trying to grapple someone and they're trying to break free. You both roll and you add your strength modifier, or if it's dexterity, you're trying to be, slip out, it could be acrobatics. So anyway, those are opposed checks. Likewise, if someone is actively looking for you, you might roll an opposed stealth check. They roll perception, you roll stealth, and whoever gets the highest would win. So in some cases, you have passive checks, and in other cases, you have opposed checks, or I think the book actually calls them contests, which is kind of an appropriate way to talk about them. Other times when you might go beyond just using that guide from nearly impossible to very easy would be on spell saves. So certain spells, when cast, and you can see more about these in part 3 and 4 of how to play D&D, but certain spells, when cast, have a chance for the person who the spell is being cast on to make a save. And in order to make that save, the spell caster has a spell save DC on their character sheet already, and that is the target roll to maybe take half damage or something like that on the or to reduce the effect of the spell in some way. Something that I should also note is that if you are running a pre-written adventure, a module, something like this, or like the one that comes with the starter set, the Lost Mine of Phandelver adventure, a lot of times they do have the DCs written out for you in there. If you're using the Dungeon Master's Guide to find traps, a lot of times the DCs are in there for those things too. And you can find other traps and stuff online that have DCs already written for you. So that does help. Now, the last thing I want to say is that if you're a DM, skill checks and ability checks are your best friend. If there is something you don't know how to handle in the game, the player wants to do something, you don't know how to handle it, you just pick a skill, pick an ability, and that's just a process of getting to know those a little bit better. And then you set a DC and say, okay, you're going to roll dexterity, and you have to get this. Whether or not you tell the players, it's up to you. I often just keep in my head, okay, they have to get a 19 on this because this is a little bit challenging, or this is pretty easy, they just have to get a 10, or whatever it is. But you can kind of have that in mind, and then the players can pretty much narrate anything at that point, and you know how to handle it. So anyway, if you have any comments, I'd love to hear from you down below. If I messed anything up, or if you think I'm missing a major part of setting a DC, let me know in the comments below too, because that can always help other people. Give this one a thumbs up if you liked it, and make sure you're subscribed. And everybody take care. You'll see me again soon.